Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, I got a little issue I need to deal with the pool. I've been noticing that the area around the pool pump and the pool filter has been kind of wet for the last few days, and I discovered there's a little bit of a leak in the pool filter housing itself. I've actually known about it for a while, and I've patched it once in the past, and it worked fine for a while, but the patch isn't working properly anymore, and I'm gonna have to consider replacing the filter housing. So we're gonna run over to the pool place today and see what those cost. I can't afford it right now. I'm gonna have to wait until the next paycheck comes in, but I want to find out what they cost, and I want to patch this little hole again. There's a little crack right up at the top. Now, it isn't leaking as bad right now. I think what ends up happening is every once in a while, just as basic maintenance on the pool pump and on the filter housing, I have to backwash the filter. Basically what happens is you get a little debris that goes into the housing. It kind of settles on top of the sand, and it kind of restricts water flow in there. And so what you do is you run water through it backwards, flush it out, and that washes all that stuff out of there. And I think yesterday when I was looking at it and seeing water leaking out of the backside, that the problem was because I had to backwash the pump, or backwash the filter. And when I did that, it stopped leaking out of the backside, because now there isn't as much pressure building up in there because it's pushing through the sand normally. But I want to take that thing apart, see if the problem has gotten worse, and then run over to the pool place, like I said, and figure out what it's going to cost to get a new filter housing, and come back and make that simple modification, or make that patch, to buy me a little time. So let me show you the problem here. So this is the filter housing right here. You can see there's a little bit of water on the ground, but it wasn't as bad as it's been for the last couple days, where this whole area was kind of flooded. For a while there, I thought it was just condensation coming off the air conditioner. But when I was looking yesterday morning, there was water actually squirting out the back of this thing onto the side of the house. And this back here is where the leak is. In fact, you can still see there's a little bit of dampness coming down the side there. So it's still leaking a little, but because the pressure isn't as strong going through there, because I backwashed the pump yesterday, it isn't spraying out of there like it was. I noticed that something was wrong even before I realized that this was the problem, because I was losing an unnatural amount of water out of here. Yes, it's very hot, and I'm getting a lot of evaporation, and that's always an issue. I lose about an inch or an inch and a half of water every week or so, and have to top this thing up. But I topped it off a couple days ago, and it was already down like 2 inches again. So it was clear that water was spraying out of the filter housing, and I was losing a lot of water that way. So we're gonna, like I said, run over to the pool place, figure out what one of these filter housing costs. I'm hoping I can get just the housing itself and don't need this part up here, because this part works fine. And if that's the case, then it will be a relatively simple and less expensive of a fix. So I'm gonna run over to the pool place. Let's see what we can come up with. Oh yes, and the reason the pool looks horrible right now is that we had a storm blow through here last night. It was pretty windy, blew a lot of leaves out of the tree, so I'm gonna have to get in here and clean this out too, but that won't be that big a deal. Alright, I'm back from the pool place. They do have the filter housing that I need in stock. That was also one of the questions, whether they're going to be able to do that for me, whether they had to order the thing. And it isn't horrendously expensive. It's about $250 for a new filter housing, and I figured it might be more than that. So I'm going to go back next week when I get paid again and can afford that, and we'll pick up a new one. We'll swap it out. But for now, I think what I want to do is open up the existing one and just patch it one more time. I went in there about four or 5 months ago when I switched out the sand on that, and I knew I had a leak then, and I was able to patch it and get it to hold for a couple of months by just squirting a little glue from my hot glue gun into the seal. That seemed to work pretty well, and kept it leak free for some time. So we're gonna do that again. That should buy me another week at least out of this, and then when we get the new filter housing, it shouldn't be a problem anymore. So I've isolated the pool from the pump system by shutting that valve there and that valve there. That basically isolates this whole system from the pool, so that when I open up everything here, I don't have all the water start pouring out of the pool, because we don't want to do that. We've already lost enough water here. I've also opened up the little drain valve here because I need to lower the water level in the housing in order to get to the point where the area where I need to make the patch is dry, because the hot glue gun's not going to work very well patching an area that's flooded with water. So once I open this up, it'll drain a little quicker, but I got to pull these three hoses off here and then remove the top. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, so I got the top off the filter housing, and it's pretty clear what happened here. You can actually see the crack in the plastic here. That's where the liquid is leaking out. And I sealed that up with a hot glue gun about 4 months ago, and it seemed to do pretty well. But over time, it appears to me that maybe the hot glue isn't as waterproof maybe as we'd like it to be. And what ended up happening is the chemicals maybe, or the water itself, dissolved the glue. And when I pulled on the little chunk of hot glue that was on there, it basically just came right off in my hand. So it's clear it was only a temporary solution, and maybe not something we're going to try again this time. I'm going to try something different this time, something that's a little bit more designed for holding up to water under high pressure, that I think will maybe last a little longer. Like I said, I only need to last it for another week until I can get the replacement housing in here, but that should do the job, so we'll do that. This is PVC cement here, and I think this is what I'm going to try and use. It's a liquid that you use to seal PVC plumbing together, like when you're doing sprinkler lines or something like that, and you want your seal to be watertight. This stuff is the stuff you want to use, and basically what this stuff does is it kind of fills in the gap, and then it kind of solidifies into a watertight seal, and it actually sort of melts the plastic around it, so it forms an actual, it doesn't just glue it together, it actually bonds it together. So I'm hoping by putting a little bit on this on the inside and outside of the crack that it will plug up the leak, at least, like I said, for a week until we can get a new filter housing in here, and that should solve my problem. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on the inside, a little bit on the outside. We'll let it set up for a while, maybe do a couple coats just to make sure we're nice and solid, and that should buy us another week here without us leaking a bunch of water out all over the place. Okay, I got about a half a dozen coats of PVC cement on actually both ends. I did it on this side and also on the back side. So we're going to button this thing back up to get again and make sure we're working. I think this should work fine, at least hold us off until next week when I get the new housing, and that should solve the problem. Like I said, I was losing probably 1,000 gallons of water a day through this thing. So if we can stop that from happening for a few days, and that's a good thing. So let's button this thing back up, get it connected, and make sure we're not leaking anymore. Alright, I got everything hooked back up, got the pump back on. I don't appear to have any leaking, so that's a good thing. This will hold us off for the next couple weeks, or next week or so, until I get a replacement filter housing. We should be in good shape. Now at the same time, I went to the pool store to check on the cost of a new pump or filter housing. I also had them look at my pool vac. My pool vac, I've had all sorts of problems with this thing since I bought it, and it's been a lot. There's been a lot of issues with it. So I brought it down because for the last 2 weeks or so, I haven't been able to get it to even start. Now, fortunately for me, this thing is under warranty. I got a 1-year warranty on it, and you can see how bad the pool looks right now. A lot of that, like I said, is because of the rain we had yesterday, and the fact that it was windy and blew a lot of garbage out of the trees. But you know, I have also not been able to kind of keep up with it because the vacuum hasn't been working very well. So I brought it over to them to have them take a look at it, and they called me a little bit ago and says, yeah, the motor's burned out on this thing. So they're going to get me a new one. They got to go through the whole warranty process. Fortunately, when I got this one, I had it properly registered and all that, so it's all just a matter of them processing the paperwork on their end, and I'll get a new one, and hopefully we'll be able to get this under control. Now, I've been dealing with most of this just by using the net to scrape the coarse stuff, the leaves and stuff out of here, because that's pretty easy. I got a little net that does a good job on that, and I can get like 90% of it out. But this like stuff on the bottom here, it's just really light material that seems to just kind of accumulate in little low areas in the pool as a result of the rotation of the water here. It kind of moves along, ends up in a low spot in the pool and accumulates there. So that's going to take the vacuum to do its thing, but I should have a new one of those tomorrow, and we'll get that in here, and we should be well on our way to having this thing under control again. So I think that's all that I have for today. Like I said, the filter housing is holding water now. It's not leaking, so that's a good thing. And we should have a new pool vacuum tomorrow, which should solve that problem. Hopefully this one will last longer than the other one did. I don't know exactly what happened with the other one. It might have just been a defective product, but we're going to let Matronics deal with that. That's their issue. They're the one that put it under warranty, and they're the ones that are going to pay for the new one. So we'll let them figure that out, and we'll go from there. So I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.